All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 164 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. And hey, stranger, it's been a while since I saw you in San Francisco. Welcome back, Nosferatu, 1974.
Simmons.
Oh, it's Gene the doll.
That actually looks pretty good.
Now, have you touched all the parts of the doll to see if the textures really do match up with what Keith
yes, I've
said?
touched every part of the doll I've touched.
Nearly every.
Don't quote me on that. You can't say that anymore, Gene. Sorry. It feels like fabric. It feels like let me turn my camera here so you can see a little better. Looks pretty good. It looks really real from this perspective. And yes, the eyes are painted underneath the sunglasses. I checked. So if the sunglasses ever fall off, you got Gene's real eyes in there. And real leather looking coat, jacket, and the boots are there. And they have their little metal studded thing on there. Really well. Unlike Mark Cicchini, I didn't keep mine in the package, but I opened it about 5 minutes ago so I could show everybody. And wow, that looks almost real when you put it in front of a webcam like that. So
You got Gene
good
Simmons.
job, Mizco.
You got Gene Simmons in the palm of your hand, and like Mark, I've left mine in the packaging, and the packaging hasn't even been out of the vault because I don't want any fingerprints. No, actually, I just don't really care about that part of the vault or the medallion, which has stayed in. It complete irrelevancies to me. Now, what's the point of this episode? You went to the Miami Vault Experience, did you not?
I did. It was exactly a week ago from tomorrow, and it was well worth it. Everything was fantastic, better than I could have ever imagined, and I'm really happy I did it, and I have no regrets, as Ace Frehley would say, who was also there.
Now, I'm curious, what made you decide to, go all in with the vault? Are you that much of a Gene fan that it was just something that you could not pass up? Was it the music? I mean, it's like a Kiss song, charisma. What was it?
It was everything. I mean, I was on the fence about it for a while, and I was yes, and then I was no, and then I went back and forth, and I finally realized, I am in it for the music. At the end of the day, I'm a Gene fan for the music. I love his 78 solo album. I love the Asshole record, because Gene's not afraid to be weird. He's not like Paul, who, not an insult to Paul, but Paul, everything Paul writes is trying to be a hit. He's trying to do that thing where he wants a radio hit, and Gene just doesn't care. Gene will write whatever, he'll record whatever, any style, any type of music, and that's why he's my favorite member of Kiss, not necessarily because, he's the most marketable member, but it just so happened that he's the most Beatlesque of all the Kiss members, and on all these songs, it really shows you that. It shows you his passion for that kind of music and where he came from. And there's some really just off-the-wall stuff. And before we got recording, I was trying to sample some of the music because I haven't got a chance to listen to all the discs yet. So I was going through discs 5, 6, and 7, and there's just some amazing, weird stuff on there, stuff you never expect to come from a member of Kiss, but I'm glad that it did because it makes me more of a Gene fan. At the end of the day, it makes me more of a fan to hear all this weird stuff and add this to my Kiss demo repertoire.
Yeah, one of the things with Gene is that he's not only the most Beatlesque of the writers, singers as well. His voice tends very well towards that kind of material, as is, very evident with something as obvious as See You Tonight. But he's also, eclectic, that you just never know what he might throw out. On this vault, what did you think of Disco, Gene?
Sticky Goo.
Yeah, well, Sticky Goo is just like a dorky, Ace Frehley had a thing, from 88 or 87, funk rock, kind of similar to Sticky Goo, but come on, Sticky Goo. Only you're not going to hear that from Paul.
No. In fact, before we recorded this episode, you wanted me to go through and kind of pick out some tunes that stood out to me. And as far as that goes, I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but I've sampled some of the tracks. And "Are You Real" is John Lennon.
Yep.
Essentially, it's a Lennon inspired song. "Pride," which I thought was really cool. I went back and listened to that 2 or 3 times. "I Want to Rule the World," which of course I heard on when the Psycho Circus demos leaked out, but it's still a great song. And believe it or not, that Minasan
That's
Hakshu Hakshu
that is so damn catchy.
was awesome.
It's sickening how catchy it is. I mean, you see the title and you think Samurai Sun Part 2, or maybe, as a song that maybe, came before that. But in terms of paying homage to Japan, I mean, it's just sickeningly catchy, and you just can't stop but start bopping your head and, almost singing along to it. I hate myself for liking that song, so that's
Well,
a good pick.
at the end of the day, though, it's a rewrite of that "Forever," FOUR,
Yep.
Forever. It's got a bunch of those lyrics in it, so it's kind of a mixture of new and old. Did I haven't checked the book out yet. Did they write that before Samurai Sun, or was it after, or do we know? I got my book next to me. I guess I could check it out.
We do not know, because I have, what I have read of the book doesn't go into the sort of detail that I like, and if I'm going to level one criticism, having had the vault now for 3 weeks, I'm going to say this. I have been listening to it nonstop, well, until yesterday when I got the new White Wizard album. It's just been on eternal playlist in my car, at work, at home, and it's 166 songs. I thought, okay, no problem. I've heard a lot of these, so I thought from the titles, I have a lot of them. But the quality improvements on many of them. There are some, I'm still disappointed with "It's Gonna Be All Right." The original one of those really isn't that much better than I already had, so it obviously wasn't recorded on a multi-track in a proper studio. It's, a lower fi recording, so that's just life. But it's just really tough to kind of digest all these. I can't talk about the material on this vault easily yet. The song titles.
No, me either.
It's all like a cloud in space of Gene Simmons' vault. It's astronomically big, humongous. So it's kind of brutal.
Well, it's like back in the day when you'd get a new Kiss album, or even a new bootleg recording would leak, you'd have 10 songs to listen to over and over and over again and get familiar with them. And this is just, like you said, just a spaceship landed and all this stuff poured out, and now you feel like Indiana Jones, and you're trying to dust things off and figure out what's this and where did it come from. One of the things I would like to do, you might have already done this, Julian, is to download the songs onto your computer and retitle them, not retitle them, but put them in the order of chronological. Because I get why he set the discs up the way they are, because it actually flows really well.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear the evolution from '66 all the way up to 2016. So when I have an extra hour or two, maybe I can try to set that up.
I think you're going to need more than 2 hours. One of the problems with the book is, again, it lacks the specific details about the years these demos were recorded. And I can't remember if I did say that one of my biggest gripes about it didn't have the source material either. This demo came off a cassette. This came off a reel. This Lita obviously came off an acetate. The acetate I owned, because you can hear the snap.
You would know, yeah.
Yeah, you've got the snap, crackle, and pops in identical spots to the transfer I did of that particular song, and a couple of others on there as well. I've had the source material, so.
Was that the same sourced from the box set, or did they do a new transfer of it?
That was a different transfer, and again, without the details, I don't know if they just basically went out and got that copy of the transfer I did, and put it through the Capitol Records system to make it sound right. It's not the same transfer as the box set. The box set is crystal clear, and we know for a fact that Gene had a publishing reel that he distributed in 1970 that had Put On Your Slippers, Little Lady, about 10 songs.
Okay.
including Lita. So there was a real source, which I presume is the source on the 2001 box set, and then there were two acetates. One was the B-side of the Stanley the Parrot 10-inch Richcraft acetate, and the other one was a Sanders Recording 7-inch. Which order all of these go through? I don't think Gene, as much as he saved stuff, I don't think he kept the notes on that sort of stuff. I would have loved to have seen some stuff in the book, like the bill for, the Richcraft acetate, a scan of that. But I think Ken Sharp did a fantastic job with the book itself. And again, like the music, the book is taking a lot of digesting. And, I almost wish that they would do a version of that for people to read, just so that, again, as a promotional thing, they don't lose the music by making that available digitally. And they might actually generate some additional sales when people start reading the stories behind all of these. As I'm typing up all my song stories about these and correcting stuff, I mean, one of the things that really bugged me was Trial by Fire. It's not Trial by Fire. It's actually, Live Fast, Die Young was what Gene always referred to it in interviews in '85, that was the name of the demo. That became Trial by Fire, but then they used the later Asylum song title. So, that's just me being completely nerd,
yeah. Regarding Stanley the Parrot, why is that not on here?
Maybe they didn't like my transfer. Maybe, that's that's completely arrogant and egotistical to think that it was mine that they used. But you know what? When I did the transfer of that, when I got the acetate, that one was in particularly bad condition. It had been played more than it should. Acetates are not made to be played more than a couple of times. They degrade very rapidly. So what is out there is pretty much as good as that gets. Now, maybe they don't have a real source on that. Maybe there were legal issues with the publishing or with maybe a performer on it. They weren't able to get clearance. Who knows? Impossible to know. I think it should have been on there, but you know what? I think if it's not on Gene's vault, it should definitely be on a Kiss vault because of its importance to Strutter, obviously.
Strutter,
and maybe they kept some stuff back, saying, Paul, I'm sure was given the opportunity to look at some of this stuff, especially as it relates to Kiss, and maybe not have a vote, but he might have said to Gene, hey, Gene, let's keep that one in the can for the future for a Kiss product. Let's see how your vault does. If the fans come to it and do buy it and it's a success, then we can look at a similar model for a Kiss one, but let's make sure that we've got that sort of material in the can to use then, and maybe we can get even more money.
How much is that one going to be? 5,000.
That one will have to come with a coffin for many of the husbands or partners that buy it, so that their significant others have somewhere to dispose of them after they find out how much it does cost.
That actually brings up a good question, Julian, and I've been kind of sitting back and wondering myself. Paul's been real quiet about this whole thing. What do you think his take on this whole vault tour is at this point? Do you think he's sitting back and thinking maybe I can do something like this too, or he's sitting back and he's laughing at Gene, or he's watching Ace show up, maybe Peter show up, maybe Vinny show up, and he's thinking, maybe this wasn't such a kooky idea after all? Because it seemed like at the beginning Paul was kind of making fun of the whole idea, which he does with Gene. It's good nature.
He mocks him mercilessly, as brothers can get away with doing, or long-term, business partners, whatever their relationship is these days.
But I wonder if he thought this wasn't going to sell well, or this wasn't going to be a success, or maybe he's sitting back and thinking, oh, it's actually not quite as bad as I thought it would be. So he's just been quiet. So I'm not really sure what to think about Paul at this point, but.
I always take the kind of viewpoint that if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. And Paul has mocked Gene for his ideas, previously, and some of his failures. But Gene's
My mother is beautiful. Remember that?
Why wasn't that on? My mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. Turtle Soup was not on there. You're distracting me. You're like a shiny little object.
Sorry.
But back to Paul. He may just be being tactical or taciturn, or in not wanting to say anything because, number one, he maybe doesn't want to be associated with it. Maybe he doesn't want to say something negative as Gene's working very hard with the product. Maybe he is just sitting back to see if it flies or sinks. You know what? He's also busy. He's been busy with Soul Station. He's just done a tour of Japan where he's put in quite a few shows, which I believe have been filmed for DVD. He's got art shows coming up in your neck of the woods, I believe, for Wentworth again. So he's been very busy with that. He's off the road. He's with his family. He's been sharing Instagrams of cooking. So I think Paul Stanley doesn't need to say anything. He's enough of a competent and confident star that he can sit back and say, let Gene have the spotlight. We'll do our rock and brews things together as those come up, but I don't need to say anything. I don't know if anyone's asked him anything in interviews, because I just don't pay that close attention to any of these guys in the press these days to either know or care what any of them are thinking about each other. So, maybe he's just watching. I'm sure he's interested in the business model, without a doubt, because it affects him as well in terms of what's left in the Kiss vault.
I know that Keith Valcourt said that at the end of the day, when all these vault events are said and done, every living member of Kiss would have either been invited or will be there. So do you think Paul will show up at a vault event? I mean, we already had the LA one.
Right, but they've just announced Seattle and Denver, so they're still announcing new vault events. What Paul might be doing in his personal life that gets him as a special guest somewhere. What they did say is that they are inviting special guests. I wish they'd kind of back off that a little bit, because that sets LA was an outlier. It was the first one. I did want to ask you one question.
And I never expected Ace. I never expected Ace in a million years to come to Miami. When I saw the LA one, I thought, okay, well, they all live out there, so that's what it is. And then when they added Ace to mine, I was just awestruck. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I'm so happy that I bought the thing when I did, because I would have been pissed if I had missed out on that, especially. So you never know what you're going to get with these things, or who's going to decide to show up where, or wherever in the country. So go ahead. I cut you off. I got excited.
It goes back to Gene's love of Americana and the Cracker Jack box. I mean, as Keith, so eloquently put on one of the podcasts, that you open it up, you get a chalk key, of the some free item out of Gene's collection, but you're also taking that to another level with people possibly showing up at these events. When did you buy your vault? Had you bought it before LA had happened, or was LA the kick in the pants?
I got a phone call from Gene, so I think that would mean I bought it around the time of Thanksgiving or a little after.
Yep. Yeah, between Thanksgiving and the 21st.
He extended the deal, and I think I bought it when he extended the deal.
So how was your call with Gene? Tell us about that.
Okay. Well, that's actually a funny story. So I get a lot of garbage phone calls from random numbers I don't answer. And so I contacted Keith, and I'm like, hey, so how am I going to know when Gene's calling me? Because I get a lot of crank calls, and I don't answer those, so I don't want to, not answer his phone call. He goes, well, it's going to either be from a restricted number, or it's going to be from Vancouver. It's going to say it's from Vancouver. And I said, okay, so what day, is this planning on happening? And he gave me, he said he gave me a specific day. So the day before, the day he tells me I'm supposed to get the phone call, I'm getting ready for work, and I'm getting ready to head out. And the phone rings. I take it out. Vancouver calling. I went, I'm not ready for this. Because my original intent was to record the phone call. And I'm actually happy that I didn't, because, I'll remember it more fondly without it being archived. But so I just go, hello? And here, I'll get the figure out, and it just goes, hi, Nigel. It's Gene Simmons calling. And I went, hi, Gene Simmons. This is Nigel. And it went really well. We talked for about 10 minutes. I just graduated from college last summer, so we talked about that. He was very happy with me because I graduated debt-free. I asked him how his mom was doing. He said she's 92 and driving everyone crazy. So we had a real good conversation. And so I can't remember all of it, but I remember it was very fond, and it lasted about 10 minutes before he said, someone's giving me the, cut it signal. And it might have been Keith, or it could have been Shannon for all I know, but it was real nice conversation. And, it just feels like you're talking to somebody you've known your whole life. It didn't feel like I was talking to anybody that I didn't know or was uncomfortable with or had never talked to before. I've met Gene a couple times here and there, and the conversations were brief, but on the phone, it was just like talking to somebody that I knew. So I really wasn't nervous. There were a couple things I would have liked to ask that I kind of forgot about, but because he called me a day early, I didn't get a chance to actually write it all down. But I was very happy with how it went. So
That's almost better in some sense that you didn't have a chance to kind of get all prepared or do any notes or, like you said,
I
record it,
agree.
because it's all up here now and it's special and it's something that you can't really share with anyone other than how you've just described it, because it's your moment. So that's a nice way to put it. And it sounds like he put a lot of effort into those calls. He had a lot. I think he had quite a good response to that sales, judging by the number of calls that he was doing and also having to push some people back because he ran out of time. I mean, I've heard of all sorts of, from 5 minutes to 15 minutes for the conversations. And, I don't think I've heard anything negative about any of these calls, that everyone thoroughly enjoyed the call they received from Gene, and good for them putting on here's an added bonus for buying it in this period. There are those of us who got out there and bought it immediately. There are some others who maybe needed a little bit of motivation after hearing, I think, Hand of Fate had streamed in late November. So
Hmm.
you'd had a quiet build up to promotion. And then you get to December, that I think the sale ended on the 21st. And then into January, you're straight into, they don't need any more advertising, or because you've got all these vault shows and podcasts happening now from everyone who's doing the experiences, and of course Mark Giacchini's interview with Gene at the Detroit Vault. So now they're off the ground and running. Miami, where was the vault actually held? The experience.
It was at a place called Walt Grace Vintage Guitars and Cars. And they had all these vintage cars, and they had this lineup of guitars, of vintage guitars and things on the wall. You couldn't have picked a more perfect place for a thing like this. And great lighting for pictures, great natural lighting. Um, Relatively small for the event, but when you only have 70 something people, I guess you didn't need a huge place. I was very happy with the venue, and when I talked to Keith, he goes, "We just a couple weeks prior to this, he goes, we just found out where Miami's going to be," and he told me, he goes, "This is an awesome place. It's really unique." So he sounded really excited about having it at this event. And I would say, outside of having it at Capitol Records, which you can't beat that, I would say this would be, for Florida, this would be about the next best thing. So I was very happy.
How many people attended yours, and what time did the event start? Kind of just walk us through when you showed up, and where you ended up in line, because that's your order of your vault presentation, basically, where you end up in line, I believe.
Well, we got there a little. I took my dad with me. He was my guest. So we got there a little late because of traffic issues and all that good stuff that happens in Miami. I think we were number 23, and I think I talked to somebody who was 28, 29. So I know it was at least 29 people. I don't know, it could have been more, but that's the largest number I saw of somebody that was waiting. I didn't get to talk to everybody, but 29, 30, I think, was about the number that they hit. I don't think they hit 50, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than 30.
Right. So you go into the guitar shop basically, and it's all set up. Were there waiters with hors d'oeuvres and tables and all that sort of thing set up that we had in L.A.?
Yeah, sort of. They were walking around with little hamburgers and little gelatinous items. Some of the things I didn't exactly know what they were, and I was very careful about what I was eating because I knew I was getting a picture with Gene, and I knew I was going to go meet him and stuff. So I didn't want to gorge myself and be sick or have stuff in my teeth. In fact, the story we'll get to later, when I went inside with Gene, for the vault, for our vault moment or whatever. Gene brought us over. This is actually in the video that I got too, that Keith filmed for me. Gene offered me some Argentinian cakes that somebody had brought him a couple people before us. And I was like, oh, great, awesome. And I'm like, hold on, I'm about to get my picture and all these professional photos. I'm not going to have cake and stuff in my mouth. I said, Gene, I'll just wait till we're done and then I'll have the cakes later. Because I don't want to have to be photoshopping chocolate schmutz out of my teeth later in the professional pictures. But yeah, they had little things going around. They had little hamburgers and little chicken things, and they had an open bar. And so it was a great event. And honestly, I mean, we got there around 10:45-ish, and I think they opened the doors at 11, or maybe they opened the doors a little early. And honestly, Gene came right out as soon as everybody sat down. Gene came out with his acoustic guitar, and he did his Q&A. And it was kind of funny because there's so little people in the room, and Gene's kind of doing it. I think the vibe I got was Gene was waiting for the audience to say something and throw things out at him, and I think the audience was waiting for Gene to kind of dictate what was going to happen and the conversations and the questions. So I lobbed a couple questions at him when Ace came out, but I had a lot of missed opportunities where I could have asked more questions, but I didn't want to feel like I was hogging the situation. But looking back now at the videos, there's a lot of times where it's just kind of Gene sitting there waiting for the audience to ask him a question, and I don't think anybody's really ready to jump on it yet. You know, everyone's kind of feeling out the situation.
Yeah, you know those dead spaces. He's got stories to tell. What sort of stories and songs was he playing clips of? You know, kind of before Ace comes out, and then tell us about how Ace makes his entrance.
I don't recall him. I could be wrong, but I don't recall him playing too many tracks. They mainly played the tracks when Gene went away and we were mingling. When Gene was doing his, private meet and greets. Gene came out with the acoustic guitar. He played some Beatles stuff. He played a little bit of My Uncle Was a Raft. It's very similar to the other Vault experiences. But looking back now, I'm thinking, oh man, you could have yelled at almost anything, and he probably would have tried to play a little bit of it. He answered some questions, and some of the questions aren't on the top of my head right now, but they're in the video. Luckily, there was about 1 million people filming the thing, so you can always go back. And that's a great thing, too, that we have in this day and age. You can go back, and literally somebody recorded the whole thing, and it's on YouTube the next day. So you can go back and see the whole thing and remember everything well, versus 20 years ago, you would have remembered maybe 2 or 3 of the questions that were asked, and the rest of it's just a fog.
In the modern day and age, everyone walks around like this, at an event. It's just a camera in front of their face instead of actually sitting.
Which is good. Yeah, it's good and bad. You have to have a balance of the two. Otherwise, you'll live your whole life behind a screen,
Yeah, that was why I bought a tripod, so I could just set it up, and next time I would actually use a monopod because it just got in the way, and just set it and forget it. Ace makes his.
Oh, you want to know about Ace? Yeah.
How does he make his entrance, and when did he find out that he was actually there?
So Keith, well, I mean, we knew he was coming because they promoted it on the site about a week beforehand. So Keith comes out, Gene comes out and does his meeting or his Q&A, and Keith Valcourt, who you may know, he comes out and goes, "I just got a phone call from Ace. He just woke up." And so this was about at 11:30, somewhere around there. So basically, Gene came out. He did a couple acoustic songs. He messed around. He did a Q&A, and he goes, "All right." He goes, "Well, we're going to go back, and I'm going to start the private vault experiences." And the people started lining up. So the music starts playing, and everybody's hanging out. And I want to say about an hour later, Ace showed up, and he just nonchalantly walks out onto the stage, and then Gene comes out with him, and they sit down and they play Cold Gin. Cold Gin's really the only song they played pretty much all the way through. They messed around with some Beatles stuff, and again, it's on YouTube. The whole thing's on there, so I don't have to try to recall the whole thing. They talked about road stories from the 70s. Somebody asked Ace who his favorite James Bond was, and he went into about a 3-minute monologue about that, and then I yelled out who was your favorite Batman? That just was on my mind. If we're talking about our favorite James Bond, and so I threw out Batman, and Ace goes, I like Val Kilmer a lot. And then Gene kind of started talking about Adam West, which I'd love to be a fly on the wall for Gene and Adam West having a conversation. That would have been really cool. And then they played a couple acoustic songs. They played a song that they wrote together that I guess isn't finished yet. That's going to be on Ace's solo record coming up here, which I thought sounded a lot like one of the songs. When I was a kid, the Ninja Turtles did a tour, and they had an album that came out, and it was only available through Pizza Hut on a cassette tape. And I thought the song sounded a lot like one of the Ninja Turtle songs from that fake tour that they did, which I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but
I think you might get another phone call from Gene.
Well, incidentally, that was my favorite song off that Ninja Turtles record. So if they're going to rip off any of the tunes off that, I'm glad it was that one.
His songwriting sunk to a heck of a level if he's ripping off Pizza Hut Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle tracks. But I don't think that's the case.
Maybe not the whole song, but the intro sounded very much like gotta fight to be free, gotta fight for what is right. So I go back and I listen to that song, and I'm thinking, God, this could be an Ace Frehley song. It sounds, the lyrics and the melody. I actually wouldn't mind hearing Ace cover that one now. So
wait, you still have this tape?
Oh, I'm sure I still have it somewhere. I think I was about 3 years old when it came out in 1991. The whole thing's on YouTube also, but the only time it was officially released was on cassette, and you had to go to Pizza Hut to buy it. So,
oh, that's too funny. So how long does Ace kind of hang out on stage? And was there the usual scrum for him? And did he hang around and mingle? As Gene obviously probably gets back to doing the Vault experiences, or did he go off with Gene for a little bit? How did it kind of go from that point?
Well, after their little Q&A acoustic thing was over, Gene went back to do more Vault things, and Ace hung out and signed some stuff. Ace was out there for, I want to say, about 15 to 20 minutes or so. He was signing, taking pictures with people, which was really cool. Because, I mean, you go to a horror convention, and what is it, $50 for a picture with Ace and $50 per signature. So if you put that into the Vault price tag, it actually helps justify it a little more. If you get a picture with Ace, and he signed, I want to say, of course, he didn't sign guitars or anything, but he signed about 2 things for every person. So, and took pictures with almost everybody. And of course, there's only so many people there, so it didn't really get too crazy. And so at that point, Ace, once everybody got what they wanted signed from Ace, he went back into the back. And I think, now, here's where I was a little confused. I was thinking, is Ace going to now be in the room with Gene when you go in? Which I was fine with it, but I was thinking that's going to be a distraction for me, a good distraction, because then I'm not going to know who to talk to. You only have 10 minutes or so, and so I kind of have an idea what I want to say to Gene and what I want to do. But I'm thinking, God, if Ace is in there now, I'm not going to know who to talk to, and I'm not going to know what to say. I'm going to want to ask Ace some stuff too. From what I gathered by looking at the photos from Miami, from other people's Vault time with Gene, Ace was in the back. And I guess if you wanted Ace to come in and take a picture with you and Ace and Gene, he would. But I only found that out afterwards, after I was looking at other people's pictures. But when I went in, Gene was actually talking to Ace from behind the door. And he went and was talking to Ace. And then the video that Keith shot, Gene's coming out from the door into the room with us. And you can briefly see Ace sitting in like a road case back there. So I'm like, damn, if I had known, Ace could have came in and could have taken a picture, me and my dad and Ace and Gene, which would have been cool. But we got pictures with them separately, so it wasn't a big deal.
So you just left poor Ace sitting on a road case, being neglected, spacing out. Having fun.
I think Well, yeah, I think Gene probably said, if the people ask for Ace, he'll come in. But from Gene's perspective, maybe he doesn't want to assume that everybody's going to want Ace in the room. So Ace was kind of back there chilling out, and
Oh,
I
that's
guess if
nice.
somebody wanted him to come in, he would. Because I'm looking at the Miami pictures, there's the people directly before me had Ace in the room. So I don't know really how that went. I don't know how that all went down.
Well,
But
maybe he discovered the Argentinian cakes and just
mm,
snuck off and was making sure he didn't have any crumbs.
well, that I will say, Ace looked great. He looked
Yeah,
great. Especially considering how he looked in the last few years. The fans were getting a little worried. Uh, he looks great. He's in fighting shape. He's slimmed down. It's almost like he's ready to put a costume on again. So.
yeah, without a doubt. And let me echo that. When I saw him in January, obviously I'd seen him in Feb. What was it? I think it was February last year, up at the casino gig, and done the meet and greet with him then. And I thought he looked even better in
Hmm.
this year, much slimmer. He was his lucidity is just wonderful these days. That his continuing battle against his demons, he's winning on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, so props to him because he's coherent. He's also relaxed. Is what struck me in Los Angeles. He was, even with people scrumming around. He was just like like the ace of old without the chemicals.
Definitely.
Just very comfortable in his own skin. Obviously, Rachel is a great. Was she there? Because she was there
No,
in Los
I
Angeles.
don't think I don't think she was because I never saw her. At one point, I was kind of actively looking to see if she was there with them, and I don't think she was. I would have. I feel like I would have seen her at least once.
Right, and now people, got to kind of think when they're doing their vault. Well, who the guest might be? I mean, is Ace there? I didn't have anything for, and I'm not really big on autographs anyway, so it was just like, hey, Ace, could I get a picture with you if you wouldn't mind? And he did a couple with me, and it was just really relaxed, arm over the shoulder. I loved it. I mean, that's my best interaction with Ace ever, and if that's the final time I meet him in person, because as I start to do less, in the Kiss world, then that's the best memory to have is that interaction that I've had as part of the vault.
I have to agree because I've met Ace on two separate other occasions, and they were at the monster conventions and stuff. And he was nice, but he's in this little room and he's signing stuff, and he doesn't really, in those situations, it didn't really feel like he was really paying much attention. He was just kind of zoned out and uh, assembly line type deal where he signs your thing, takes your picture, or he doesn't even stand up. That's what annoyed me about the first time I got my picture with Ace. It was me behind a table.
Yep.
Ace was sitting down, and I was standing behind him. So this time I actually got one where one that was a lot better than the last time I met Ace and got a picture. And I think what it had to do with was there weren't a million people there. I think he felt a lot more comfortable, and maybe he's just in a much better place than he was. I think it was 2011, and I know he has hearing issues, so a lot of the stuff, goes right over his head. Even Gene, when people were asking questions in Miami, Gene would have to repeat the question to Ace because Ace said, I'm deaf. I'm deaf. You're gonna have to speak up. What? So it's not like he's trying to hide it. Uh,
No,
he he admits, yeah,
well, you've been to an Ace concert. You know how freaking loud it is. He is deaf, as
yeah.
deaf as a doornail.
Well, that leads me to a question actually. So, was there a time where Ace wasn't wearing hearing protection? And because it seems like Gene can hear just fine. Was there a specific time in the 70s where Ace went Pete Townsend and just didn't wear hearing protection at all? And when you think about Gene, you think that's something Gene probably was thinking about from day one. But Ace, maybe not so much.
That would be a great question for anyone who interviews any of these guys. Whether it's Gene, Paul, Ace, Peter, Bruce, or Eric and Tommy. How did you protect your hearing? Did you think about it in the 70s or in the 80s for some of the newer guys? I've never even thought to ask that, and that's a great missed question. How did you protect your hearing, and maybe other kind of things? Because obviously, I don't think Ace did, but Kiss also had a reputation for being one of the loudest bands in the world at one point. I mean, they were pushing well over 100 decibels at shows because they had people coming out and monitoring them and trying to take the venues to task for them playing too loud over city ordinances. So. And anyone who's ever been to an Ace show knows how brutally loud they can be to the point of actual pain. I will not go in without ear protection to any Ace show.
No, me either. Me either. And if it's too loud, you're too old. But you know what? I'd rather hear this stuff for the rest of my life with earplugs in than to go in and blow my hearing on one show, which almost happened, and it was at a Kiss tribute show, which kind of sucks. I went in with out earplugs, and my hearing was messed up for weeks. So ever since then, I've been real good about that. And you get those industrial ones that are clear, like the musician earplugs, and you can still hear all the music. You can hear everything. And I'll usually take the earplugs out for the first song, so I get the feeling of the whole experience. But then after that, I'll put the earplugs in and enjoy the rest of the show. Because I like music, and I sing on occasions, and I do a lot of things that use my ears. So I need to be respectful of that. I'm sure Paul, especially, Paul's an activist for that kind of thing. I wonder how he was dealing with that in the 70s.
Especially with his ear impediments as well.
Yeah.
He would have had to would have been very cognizant of the fact that he had to protect himself. Again, I don't know if I interviewed Paul, whether that would be a question that I would ask him, but, it would be an interesting one to actually, find out again. So maybe if anyone's listening who's going to be doing an interview with any of these guys, it's something interesting to ask, whether it's Ace, Ace probably can't remember. Or maybe he can. He just didn't care. Back then, it was just get on stage and play with a stack of Marshalls behind you. What else could be better in life? Maybe they couldn't tell. Obviously they're on stage, somewhat behind the PA at times, relying on the monitors to kind of tell them how loud they are. So they're getting a different dynamic to the sound. So, Well,
all I can say is, Gene seems like he hears just fine. And he always, he talks with that real relaxed, calm voice, and he hears everything you say, and he hears people talking from the back without a microphone. So I don't know what he did differently than Ace, but there's definitely a difference there, and they're roughly the same age, so.
Yeah, so let's get back to the Miami Vault experience. Before we go into your actual experience, you mentioned that there were some folk from Argentina, which I find fascinating today. Any other guess? How was it mingling with your fellow fans? Was it a good bunch of people? No drama, just everyone relaxed, having a good time. Anyone interesting? Any kind of minor celebrities? Any important podcasters? What was the crowd like?
There was Almost Human 56 was there. Or otherwise known as Dr. Fuck.
Oh, Ralph Vieira, right? Yep.
Yeah, Ralph. Mm-hmm.
Ralph, I want your Elder cassette. If you hate that, I will do a trade with you.
I filmed that video. I filmed him opening that up.
Oh, you did? Excellent.
Yeah. Because I won't get into the whole specifics of that story. Maybe you can have him on. He can tell his story. But basically, from what I gathered, he did not open up his vault with Gene. Something happened in there, and I guess he was being not kicked out, but the meet and greet, because he was right after me, and his meet and greet was getting sped up, and he goes, Gene, he goes, aren't you gonna have me open, the mystery compartment? And he said that Gene goes, open it at home. So he comes out with his vault, and I said, do you want to open it right here? Because I wanted to see what he had inside. So I said, I'll film it for you. So he handed me the camera, and I filmed it. And he pulled out the Elder cassette and backstage pass and something else, I think.
Yeah, a sticker for Tongue magazine, I think it was.
Yeah. That's right.
So yeah,
So, but he was a cool guy. I never met him in person.
he is a cool guy.
I watched his videos. Yeah.
He was at the National Rock and Pod last year. Quite a character. Would love to have
Hmm.
a beer with him. I don't know if he drinks, but I'd have a beer with him, and a chat about music. Quite a character. The podcast has spoken for itself in the past. So obviously he's one of the characters.
And Barry Gibbs' son was there as well.
Wasn't he the
And
one who was photographed with Gene in the 70s? Because I know one of the
yes,
Gibbs children was, and it was
I
made, I think,
think
16.
yeah, I think that was him. That's in his book, his Gene's biography. I think
Yep.
that picture's in there. And also Maria Contessa was there as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, she wasn't there very long because she was sitting there quiet by herself. And Keith said, just want to give a special shout out to her, and he kind of explained who she was and what she did. So I ran right over to her. I said, "Let me get a picture." So we got a picture real fast. And as soon as that was over, I turned around and she was gone, and I never saw her again. So I was happy I got a picture with her because that was my only opportunity, and I didn't know that until I turned around. And same with Barry Gibbs' son. I would have gotten a picture with him too, but I think they hightailed it out of there. I know that Lenny Kravitz was invited, and Iggy Pop was also invited.
Oh, Iggy.
Hmm.
I was thinking Miami that it would be Gloria Estefan, but there you go.
Will Smith, yeah,
But
which I would have been fine with that too.
come on, Maria Contessa and Barry Gibbs' son, both which have those Kiss connections. Obviously, Contessa. I met someone at the Atlanta Expo last week. He had a fantastic jacket that he got signed on the outside by the living Kiss members, and on the inside he got signed by kind of the Bob Kulicks. Maria Contessa was in there. Very, very cool.
Oh, cool.
Jacket, and nice for people to give her recognition for obviously what she did for the band is an important part of the visual history that we enjoy.
Which did she design? Did she design the Dynasty costumes?
Oh God, Ross knows the answer to all that. I just
Okay.
I just don't have the nous on that sort of side of things. I think she was Love Gun because
Okay.
wasn't Dynasty and Unmasked that Vegas guy Bob Mackey who did Cher stuff.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You could be right.
But I just don't know. So anyone wants to point us out. Ross knows the answer to all of that, and it'll be in his book, I'm sure. So.
Well, while we're on special guests, we have to throw out the Gino.
Oh,
Gino was there, the exclusive producer.
Okay.
Very nice guy, very cool. And the next day, I'm looking at pictures, and there's, Gene and Ace sitting in front of the fireplace at Gino's house playing cold gin, and Vanilla Ice is there, and
Ace Baby.
yeah.
That was absolutely hilarious. Rob, what's his name? Rob Van Winkle. I always liked Vanilla Ice. That's a guilty pleasure on my playlist. I have very, very little rap. I do have 2 of Vanilla Ice tracks along with some MC Hammer, some Coolio, and who's the other one? LL Cool J. And that's about
Well,
it
another Ninja Turtle connection for me, because he did the Ninja Turtle rap in the second Turtles movie. So as a kid, he was cool to me just because he was in a Ninja Turtles movie. So, and just looking at those pictures there's Ace Frehley talking to Vanilla Ice.
That's just
2 completely different eras of music and genres just thrown into the mix together. Blows my mind.
oil and water. The 2 would not seem to mix. How is Gino? I mean, he seems like a really cool cat, and he's had a heck of experience. He's done the home experience, the producer experience, and obviously, I believe he was the first producer experience. So, I mean, he's had quite a run with Gene Simmons, and you saw all the instruments that he had as well. So he's obviously done a lot of those types of things because the things Gene and Ace were holding in some of those photos were apparently ones that he'd already purchased. So, it seems like quite a character.
Well, it's funny to think back now because when they first posted the pictures of the producer experience, there were a lot of people that thought that Gino was a employee of Rhino Records that had pretended to buy the Vault exclusive producer experience. Because you know how those rumors get started. They said, there's no way somebody would buy one of these, and that's probably just somebody who's who's connected to Gene or connected to Rhino, and they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. But no, he's real.
He's very real.
Yeah, he did the home experience and the producer experience, and his name is on the vault on the inside when you open it up. Great guy, really nice guy. We're friends on Facebook now, and I got a picture with him. So he didn't invite me to his house for the home experience. So maybe next time.
Yeah, and
if you're listening, Gino.
And he's got that pic. I love that picture of him in his bed, cuddled up with his Hello Kitties, with Gene and Ace sitting behind him, kind of lullabying him to sleep. I mean, or see you in your dreams, I guess would be more appropriate. Fantastic. I mean,
it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if that was some sort of dream he had when he was a kid that he wanted to reenact as an adult because he could. That was the first thing that popped into my head. You know, maybe that's some fantasy he had when he was a kid that Kiss would be in his bedroom at night. That's kind of going into a weird direction. But anyone who's a Kiss fan knows what I'm talking about. You know, Kiss showing up at your school or Kiss showing up at your house. And to me, when I saw those pictures, that was the first thing that popped into my head was, you know, let's reenact that dream I had 40 years ago where Kiss showed up at my house and played a concert, you know?
Yeah, now I'm at a place in my life where I'm able to do that. And these people weren't plants. The other executive producer, I think Hernandez family in Dallas, I met the mother in Atlanta, and she came around the table, introduced herself, and... You know, very, very nice people. I'm glad they've been able to do those experiences. I'm glad I was able to do the vault experience that I was able to do. Let's get into your vault experience. You're next in line. Walk us through what went down and what you remember of it.
Okay, so basically, at one point, I'm waiting in line for the restroom, and Keith, Ace, and Gene come out to do the little unplugged set. And I'm just standing there, and Ace walks by, and, you know, I give him a handshake, and Gene gives me a fist bump, and Gene walks by, and I feel a tap on my ass. It was Gene. Gene tapped me on the butt before they went up on stage.
Gene, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yep. # me too. But everything went well. So later on in the day, we're getting ready to go in. And I think it was number 23. So we head in, and Gene's eating macaroni salad. Because in between each thing, I think he was eating or just chilling out or whatever. And which I'm fine with, you know, take your time, you know, be relaxed. I don't expect you to be, you know, I'm Gene Simmons, you know. I want to talk to the human being. So I brought with me, I had a gift for Gene, which was an original piece of sheet music from 1940. From the Pinocchio movie. It's the When You Wish Upon a Star. And, you know, Gene collects Gene. That's the first line in the Vault book. It says, some people collect Star Wars. You know, I meet people that collect comic books, blah, blah, blah. I collect me. So it actually worked well that I brought him something like that because it had a connection to him. And he loved it, you know. And, of course, I got video of that, too. And when I was watching him look at this, he was studying. He even took his sunglasses off. You know, he was studying this sheet music, and he looked at the publisher, and he goes, "This really means a lot to me." And when I look up, I didn't see Gene Simmons. I saw Chaim Witz, or I saw Gene Klein. You know, the 15-year-old, and that's what I wanted out of that.
Yep.
You know, I wanted to give him something that connected with his childhood and his past. And something that took him back to the very beginning, before Kiss, before Wicked Lester, before, you know, Bullfrog Beer. So, mission accomplished on that one.
Yeah, it's an incredibly poignant piece of his history. That cover is not on his solo album for no reason. That is not Cornball. That is not anything other than that is the real Gene. And you hear his voice cracking, singing that, you know. So I love how you thought to take that to him because, you know, for the special moment. As a fellow immigrant, I spoke the language. He came to this country completely, you know, what he spoke Hebrew and I think German or Hungarian, you know, but not English. And having to learn that language and to learn, you've heard the stories. Yeah, and he's never been shy of telling him, you know, his relationship with comics and the Disney movies, and you got to just to peek through time, in essence, when you gave that to him.
Yeah. And I'm a sheet music collector, I'm a vintage film collector, so I wanted to find something that was part of another passion of mine, but that also connected with Gene and his passion and his career. And and I've had two of those forever. And I always said, I'm going to hang on to this one because one day I'll meet Gene in a situation where I can hand this to him and actually have a conversation about it with him. And I finally got that opportunity. So
that's awesome.
Mission accomplished on that one.
Yeah, and also kudos for being thoughtful. He said, bring me a gift if you wish. He was certainly receptive to the idea, but it's nice that, when you can make a connection with him on that level. Okay, so let's talk about your actual vault. You gave him that first, and then what did he do? Did he point over and say, that's your vault, Nigel?
So he goes, here's your vault. It was stacked on top of another vault. So it's, up a little higher so he doesn't have to crouch down to get everything out. He showed me, he gave me the pitch that you've seen online. Here's where this is, and there's a book and 50,000 words and 11 CDs because 10 wasn't enough and I lied and there's actually 11 CDs. So when I was watching your video, that part was very similar to how we did it with you. So we get to the special item compartment, and he goes, all right, open that up in there to see what you have. So I open it up and I go, because I've seen a lot of videos of this and I'm not sure whether or not, I'm like, do I go up and go underneath in the back? Or he goes, there's no rules, just go in. So I pulled out a little compartment, and my dad was with me. He goes, my dad told me later on, I thought it was a Rolex. I thought it was going to be a Rolex. So I pull this out, this item right here. Here, I'll turn the light around here so you can get a little better shot. It's signed. It's upside down. Sorry. He goes, it's my shades. So let me open these up for you. There's been a lot of speculation online now. I posted this on the Kiss My Collectibles page.
Yep.
And a lot of people seem to think these are the sunglasses from Domino. And they look very similar, although there's a shot where he takes them off and the sides look different. So unless they had two pairs of sunglasses in that video, I don't think these are the ones from Domino, but I'm still trying to figure out if we can find a picture of them online. Gene said they're from 18 years ago. So, but others seem to think they're more from the 90s, from the Revenge era. And actually goes with a lot of the photos from that era. He had sunglasses that were very similar to this. And I haven't seen any of them where he's wearing these in the Farewell Tour era. So maybe Gene was off on it. Maybe he's right. I don't know. But until I see a picture of him wearing them, I will reserve my judgment. But it's still a really cool item to have.
Yeah, and it's also a mission now to find a photo of him wearing those particular ones and maybe doing a little bit of research.
Exactly.
I mean, do they have a brand and do they have a model number that you can punch into the interwebs to see, if they were manufactured in a certain period?
It's ESS brand. I don't know if it won't show up, but it's ESS brand. So I'm sure at some point we'll find a picture, because everyone's now posting pictures under that thread with Gene wearing every sort of sunglasses under the sun. So eventually we'll hit the right one. Yeah. But I would love it if these are the ones from Domino. That's awesome. I couldn't ask for a better secret compartment gift than that. So
no, very very cool. So what else was in there?
Too. The Merry Christmas card from 2004, and of course Gene signed it for me on the side there. I think there's quite a few of these out there, but it's still a really cool item to have. And this is actually the year I graduated high school too, so.
Oh, that's cool. I mean,
cool item.
That was the first year I didn't get one. The last one I got was 2003, so that's a nice one to have.
Agreed. But the meet and greet thing was awesome. a lot of people have been asking me questions about this, that, and the other, and basically every vault experience is its own thing. Gene gets a sense of who you are, and if you connect with him, the event could go on for 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I can't remember exactly how long we were in there, but it had to be over 10 minutes.
Yep.
Maybe 15, because it's all kind of a blur. And Keith filmed a lot of the parts, but he didn't film everything. So I don't know exactly how long it was, but I know it was longer than 10, maybe 15.
No, that's very cool. One thing you do need, have you done this? Have you gone through your vault secret compartment with a flashlight yet? Because when I went through mine, this fell out, which was an additional...
Really?
Yeah, it was an additional photo pass from the Freedom to Rock tour. Because
I'll have to do that. As soon as we get done here, I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, because my items were, of course, the backstage pass from Edmonton Gene Simmons solo show, which I attended and I did the meet and greet for. And hey, Ralph, this is all for your benefit in case you're interested in any of these items. So backstage pass, or you can have the All-Coin era Almo rapid play guide for alto sax and E-flat instruments. So, one thing I really don't like the idea of, and I did see someone from the Detroit Expo selling their, exclusive item on eBay. I would like to stay away from that, but I don't think there's anything wrong with offering trade up with other vault purchasers. If you did not get an item that you like or care about, these are all great items, but for an Elder, still sealed Elder cassette after doing the Odyssey book, I would definitely do a deal. But there you go. To each their own. So make sure you do check out your vault secret compartments, because you never know what maybe got knocked around, in the time from when they packaged them up and put the special gifts in, because the sides of that where you reach in do not go all the way up against the sides of the box. There's a gap, like a 16th of an inch down there, which paper goods could easily slip into. And then, of course, it does go up and around the back of where the book tray is, all the way up to the top. So you could get quite a bit in there.
Well, yeah, I'm going to keep my VIP pass and my wristband and, all the things from that event. I'm going to keep that in that compartment too, because why not, Might as well utilize that space.
Yeah.
Regarding the top, where he personalizes it to you, I actually got a piece of, because I was a little worried about the signature getting rubbed off over time. So I actually got a piece of plexiglass that I put over the rivets. So you can in essence, you can put something else on top of it if you have to store it, and you don't have to worry about it getting the signature rubbed off. So if anybody's looking for a way to protect the autograph on top of the vault itself, if you have to store it or put something else on top of it, that's a really good way to go, to get a piece of thick plexiglass and put it on top. That way you can not worry about getting your Gene signature rubbed off over time.
Yeah, I was thinking about spraying
2008.
my 2008 to Julian.
Gene signature.
Yeah, I was going to spray mine down with Fixer, but I'm frightened of doing that, because it's just not something that you can't really test that theory. And you either do a little spray and you're committed, or you don't spray and you go plexiglass. So right now, mine's just sitting loose. What did he write to you on yours? And obviously you'd been given a warning, after the LA one, that maybe you want to think about what to have him write. Did you have anything special, or did you just let him scribble?
Well, my two ideas were, which he ended up writing, "When You Wish Upon a Star," because I wanted to connect it to the sheet music and, Gene's biography and everything when he was younger. So that's what I had him write on there, but I gave him the option. I said, either write that, or if you want to draw me an original piece of art on there, draw me a picture of Godzilla or Batman or something. But by this point, he had already started writing the "When You Wish Upon a Star," so that was done. But I was hoping to maybe get an original piece of Gene art, a dinosaur or something cool on my vault. But I'm very happy with what I got. Very happy.
So he spelled everything right, and it's not when you wish upon a stare.
No, and he spelled my name right too. So
And
I'm not
what year?
Nigle.
Yeah, what year did you get yours?
He wrote January. He just wrote January 2018. I think he realized he wasn't going to get super specific after Los Angeles.
You know what? There's no reason to doing signatures, assembly line, one after the other. And I don't know if it was the same for you that he spent a lot of detail doing a nice signature on top of mine. Whether that was the
Mine
same
too.
case with you. I mean, he's putting care into how he delivers this product to everyone. I mean, obviously, this is our second podcast about the vault. Because I want to revisit it from different experiences in different places to see how the whole event evolves. And some parts like getting the vault are all going to be the same. How many different ways is he going to do that? He's not going to have a Mazo show up and blow fire at you, and boom, your vault appears out of a haze. You get your vault, you finish your chat. What did you get? Did you bring stuff to get signed by him?
Yeah, I brought solo album, 78 solo album. I brought the first album that I had. Ace already signed it. Paul already signed it. Tommy and Eric signed it. A long story. I'm okay with it now. And I needed Gene on it too.
Yeah,
and I need Peter now.
I remember now. You got taken to task on why did you let Tommy and Eric sign that? For God's sake, it happened. It happens.
Thread now deleted. The entire thread deleted because of that. But basically, I'll give you the short version of that story. I did a meet and greet in 2009, and this was before Sonic Boom had come out on vinyl. So I didn't really have anything for the current lineup to sign. I wanted a record signed, so I took the first record, hoping Gene and Paul would sign it. I met Paul first, and Paul signed it, and it was like Paul, Tommy, Eric down the line, and then Gene sort of had his own line on the other side. So Paul signed it, and Paul and I are having a conversation. So Paul signs it, and he hands it down to Eric, and I'm still talking to Paul. So I have a moment in my head where I go, okay, do I stop Paul? Do I stop this conversation I'm having with Paul to tell Eric and Tommy to not sign that album and make it awkward, or just do I continue to have the conversation with Paul and just let whatever happen happen? And so I just kept talking to Paul, and Paul kept talking to me, and then at the end I went down and I shook hands with Eric and Tommy, and I got my album signed by Eric and Tommy. And so then I had Ace sign it, and I missed Gene because Gene had his own line, and then they got rushed to the stage, so I didn't get Gene to sign it there, so I needed him to sign it at this thing, and he did a great, awesome, big signature on that record. So now I've just decided, I'll try to get everybody to sign that one. Bruce.
Yeah.
Probably not Vinny, because he signed so big.
He's not
I
signing.
don't think there'll be room for Vinny on there.
No, he's doing wonderful signatures that are reasonable at the moment, or at least he did in
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that'll be the case in Nashville, but he was very respectful and mindful to kind of like his zone on, album covers. If you gave him an Invasion cover, then it might well have covered the whole thing, and that's fine. That's Vinnie Vincent Invasion. But on all the Lick It Ups that I saw that he signed, he kind of stayed over by where he was on the cover. So I would say go for it. I mean, get him on there. Just get all of their, Bruce. You've already got Tommy and Eric, and you know what? It's a Kiss record, and they're members of the family. Is the way I look at it. Some people are very kind of militant about it, that if you're not on the album, you shouldn't be signing it. But I do also agree with what Mike Brandvold kind of said on Three Sides. When someone gave him a record to sign, fine, I'll sign it. It's your record. It all is fair. I mean, you could go down to your local Burger King and get the cashier to sign your record if that means something to you. And you don't happen to have anything else. It doesn't have to be a big deal. There are some people who, when that record was handed down to Tommy and Eric, would have taken it, looked at it, and chucked it in the trash right then and there. But you know what? Tommy and Eric keep the dream alive for a lot of us.
To be fair, I've heard Tommy and Eric always ask the person, are you sure you want me to sign this? I'm not on this. This isn't me. Are you sure? It was just the situation and the circumstance that I was in. Paul just kind of handed it off, and it kind of went down the line. And I wasn't going to ruin a good moment with Paul to make it awkward. And you see these people online, they're like, well, I would have screamed at him and I would have told him to stop and I would have.
Why?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure you would. Yeah, and it's like, go and do that right now. No, don't.
Yeah.
Because they're just doing their thing. Someone hands them something. Paul hands them something. They're on autopilot as well to a certain extent. They're very good. I've always heard them ask that when given classic stuff. There was someone who at Reno last year gave them a copy of Destroyer. And Tommy did ask. When I go to these things, I'm usually on a mission for one item. Last year, it was that 74 poster from Kisteria, and so I kept that away from them completely. But I also brought a Sonic Boom CD because I didn't want to be disrespectful and say I don't want anything signed by you guys, because I was only on a mission for that one thing. I don't have a problem with Tommy and Eric. They're both great guys. Eric is wonderful, but I brought something to get signed just because I didn't want to, not have something signed by them as part of the meet and greet process when all I was really interested in was that poster. So,
Of course.
Everyone's different. So,
Well, now I'm worried though, because someone told me, well, if you plan on getting Peter to sign that, you need to cover up that Eric signature, because I've heard that Peter won't sign. He won't sign it if Eric's signature's on it. I don't know if that's true or not, but
yeah, tell him the story. Say, hey, it's Paul's fault.
He'll love that. Yeah.
throw Paul under the bus. I mean, come on.
Or there was that Creatures of the Night tour book that somebody had Ace sign, and Ace said, I guess he said, I'll sign it, but only if I can do some artwork inside. And you probably remember this. Didn't he cross out Vinny's face and he circled himself and he did all sorts of art inside? I said, what? At the end of the day, if Peter gave me an ultimatum like that, I guess I'd say, Peter, do whatever, do it if you want to scribble Eric out.
Yeah, but, because it would have a story. You would know that Eric's signature's on there and that Eric had signed it. And if Peter really, if Peter wanted to do a little primal therapy right then and there, say, hey, sign over it if you want. Whatever makes you happy, Peter. I'd really like you to sign this because it's more important than just the one album. It's about my history that includes every member of the band. Obviously, you're the original. You're the drummer on this album. We know it. But this is more about my journey than just your story. It's ours together, which you're a part of. You want to sign big, sign big. How do you want to do it? So
yeah, and if I'm handing him $50, I don't think he's going to care either way for a signature.
you never know. It might be a conversation piece, but at this point, I think he's probably seen enough Kiss records that have their signatures on it for it not to be an issue. I hope it'd be the case, but if not, you know what? Tell the story. I was having a chat with Paul, and he just, we were talking. He just handed it down without realizing no disrespect was intended, and the other guys, were just on autopilot. But that's absolutely hilarious. I mean, and then you'll get your record back from Peter, and Paul's face will have some art added to it, right?
It'll be unique, definitely unique.
Yeah, and it'll be yours. It'll be not something that you'd ever want to part with because of the stories that are attached to every single signature on that. And that's what's the great part about meeting these guys, especially in situations where you have a little bit more time to kind of interact with them and, kind of have that thing that represents that moment other than the memories in your head. So
exactly.
Let's kind of bring this one to a close. Was it worth it?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. The thought even went through my head, do I want to do another one? I won't do another one. But the thought did go through my head because it was just such a fun and unique event. I've been on a couple of the cruises, a completely different event than that, in a good way. You're really hands-on with these guys. You're one-on-one with them as human beings. And, I was lucky enough to get Ace at mine. So I hope whoever does these in the future gets cool special guests as well. But at the end of the day, it's all about Gene, and it's all about the vault. And I've had the vault for a week, and I'm nowhere near the end of this thing. I still have a book to read. I still have 2 or 3 CDs that I need to listen to that I haven't heard a single song off of. And the CDs I have listened to, I'm going to go back and listen to 2 or 3 or 4 more times. So it's going to take a while to get initiated with all this stuff. And it kind of takes me back to when I got the Kiss box set. I took that box set book with me to school every day, and I memorized everything, and I knew every story behind every song. And that's the one negative thing about the Vault book, is that I can't take it to work with me to read, nor would I ever take it out of the house. So it's kind of a book I'll have to read at home. But there's just so much to discover, and so much music to discover. You know, what more can you say? This is something that honestly was in the works for what, 15 years?
A very long time. If you go back to this wonderful product, which I just happen to have ready, speaking in tongues, if you flip over the back of that insert card, it's got a special note to those of you who are listening to the soundtrack music in the background. You may not recognize some of the music on here because it has never been released. These are the demo versions of songs that will be appearing next year in the Gene Simmons 100 box set. 100 songs that have never been released. 2004. What are some of the songs on there? Weapons, Carnival of Souls, Sweet and Dirty Love, Am I Losing My Mind, Damn I'm Good, Every Day Above Ground, Everybody Knows, Granny Takes a Trip, I Turned to Stone, etc., etc. Most of the songs listed on here are on that vault. And I remember going back
and inside the what was it? Inside the lunchbox, the tin, the Sex Money Kiss audiobook,
yeah.
that had like 2 or 3 songs too that were supposed to be coming out on the. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, it was the Family Jewels.
The Family Jewels
season 1.
Yeah, deluxe edition had a CD in it, and that had Rain Keeps Falling and Everybody Knows, I think, on it. The Sex Money Kiss had a bonus CD that had another version of Everybody Knows, and I can't remember the other song off the top of my head. The versions of those songs that are on the vault are slightly different. They're either little Pro Tools cut and paste to move them around so they're not identical, or different takes completely. That's the first thing that I did when I had mine, was I A-B'd all the stuff that had previously been released, whether it's on a Love Gun Deluxe or on the box set, to see if everything is different, with the exception of Mad Dog and the song off Unmasked. God,
You're All That I Want?
Yeah, thank you. Which are superior transfers to my ears on this. So while they're the same song, they're different transfers. So in keeping with the honor of saying previously unreleased, 166 songs, absolutely correct so far as I can tell. And everything that I've had demo-wise doesn't count, because you're not supposed to have that stuff. It leaked out. So there you go.
Question for you. What tracks blew you away on this? What songs were there songs you had never heard of before?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. There's plenty on here, and I'm only really through analyzing disc 3. Let me speak in kind of general terms. Gene's Crazy Night stuff on this are the winners so far for me. Dial L for Love is absolutely stunning. Pristine studio quality with lyrics.
I haven't gotten to that one yet.
With vocals, pardon me. When Eric Carr's Unfinished Business came out, I was kind of under the impression from the liner notes that was as good as they had, just a rough idea as an instrumental, that no vocals had ever been cut. Well, that song came on and I fell out of my chair, and then I was jumping up and down. I was really, obviously I'm working on a Crazy Nights project at the moment, so hearing that blew me away. Are You Always This Hot, the 12th track that was recorded for that album and left off, absolutely stunning, and better than No No No, actually. And then of course Gene's 2 demos from that album, Good Girl Gone Bad and Hell or High Water. Again, like Paul's demos from that album, they're tougher, rougher, harder edged. If that album had been produced, I'm going to say this, and people can boo me. If Crazy Nights had been produced by Paul Stanley in the same vein as Asylum, it would have been an outstanding album, in my opinion. Obviously, it wouldn't have been the Crazy Nights that we all know, polished, but all that edge, the roughness, it was good rock and roll music. That's the stuff that jumps out at me immediately. Carnival of Souls, all of the demos related to that album are making me reevaluate Carnival of Souls now, because they're completely different arrangements. They're lo-fi demos in many ways. You've heard tastes of Juliet or Hey You on the sampler reel that they put out. they're really making me reappraise a lot of what Gene has done. And then finally, Only You. The three versions that become, I think, Sweet Temptation is the middle.
Eskimo Sun, right? That's the original.
Eskimo Sun is the precursor.
Okay.
With the chord pattern or the note the basic part of that. Then there's the Only You demo, which is just the main kind of verse part of the song. Then there's, I think it's Sweet Temptation, which is the bridge section that's added in to the version. Then another version, Am I Losing My Mind? And they're all very... Just the playing up Only You is absolutely exquisite, beautifully recorded. There's so much. Ask me tomorrow, I'm going to say something else because I will have been listening to it in the morning, with my cup of tea while writing stuff, and something else will have jumped out at me. There was stuff, Mongoloid Man is probably another one of the big disappointments. I didn't realize that was the Jelly Roll riff that we had for years. And then you hear it.
It was like the end of Flaming Youth. That was a different song that everybody was waiting for to hear, and then when they finally heard it, oh no, I'm sorry. The end of We Are One is Body and Soul from the Psycho Circus sessions.
Right.
Dun dun da 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 dun dun dun. So like we'd heard it before, but we didn't know what it was. So that was a cool, kind of discovery, and that's the great thing with this vault is you'll hear things, they're like, that's from this, or he took that and did this with it. And it makes you wonder, I'm looking at this vault and I'm going through this huge book and I'm thinking about the Beatles anthologies that came out 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you wonder if Apple looks at something like this and goes, damn, could we do this with the Beatles anthology? Could we come out with, a $5,000 box of Beatles demos in a book that people would in a giant Apple?
They're so far down to the bottom of the barrel of the, kind of the Beatles material. Is anyone going to pay for takes 18 through 20 of Strawberry Fields? They just don't have anything kind of to that level of unrehearsed. I mean, maybe from the Get Back sessions, there's some stuff that would be worthy of putting in a Beatles vault. They did, of course, do you remember a few years ago when overnight that iTunes Beatles 64 bootleg appeared, all the radio appearances that they dumped out for copyright purposes to renew? It's the same with so many bands that could be Van Halen. Come on. Def Leppard,
the Vinnie Vincent vault,
the Vinnie Vincent archives. Again, another great example. There's two more songs I want to mention that I hope you get a chance to check out, and we'll get together online and talk about some of these. Ace Frehley, Weapons, Power to Raise the Dead. I absolutely love what he did with that because it is Weapons, the music that you can hear on Gene's Asshole album, but with Ace's rewritten lyrics, and I just love the singing on that. And Master of Flash, which is a song that Gene bought from Street Punk and John Montgomery.
Yeah.
And I've heard John's re-recorded version of that because it was up on what was it, MySpace or one of those early music sharing platforms. And I was like, how the hell is Gene going to do this? I didn't hear it. It's a very cinematographic kind of song, very proud, very British, actually. You think of The Who and some of the posing, posturing 70s rock
Bowie,
gods.
yeah.
Bowie, or maybe even Roger Daltrey, but certainly Bowie. And when you hear it, it's a rough song. In terms of its fidelity, but it's also a very different sort of Gene. For where he's to a certain extent a failure as an actor, this is a success of him acting vocally, because he's presenting a persona that's for me very different than what I was expecting. Very, very fascinating to experience, to see. But again, 166 songs. You're not getting through this beast anytime soon. You're going to be digesting it for months.
And take your time with it. Take your time with it. I try to give myself something to look forward to. I won't blow through all the tracks, right away. I'll listen to disc 1 and get familiar with that, and then bounce around. I think the first disc I put in was 11. I put the bonus disc in first.
Pure Nigel started on 11. Gene's box set.
Perfect.
Gene's vault does not go up to 10. This one goes up to 11. 11.
They can't just make 10 louder, though. They can't.
No, 11.
Um, One more question before we wrap things up. Future Kiss albums. Do you think Gene will have no problem reaching into a vault track that we've heard to rework it into a new Kiss song? Or do you think that now this stuff is out officially, he won't want to tread back? Or will he care either way?
Hasn't stopped him before. If you think back to Animal off Sonic Boom, where he reached back to the Peter Criss song,
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
And you know how much he likes his Backbone Slippage. You know what? If Gene goes back and say Kiss does do another album, and they're talking about what sort of material, or they're starting to record stuff, and he gets an inkling, that riff on Minasan, Minasan, let's do. Why not? It's fair. It's his.
It won't bother him. Yeah.
It won't bother me either. It's his music. If he wants to reinterpret it, let's say, for example, that he wants to take one of these to Paul and say, Paul, do something with this, make it better, make it work. And Paul says, yeah, and they work on it, or he gives it to Tommy, or he gives it to Eric to sing. Again, it's all fair. It's Kiss. There are no rules when it comes to music, and Kiss in particular. Gene is going to do whatever he wants, and it's worked well for him in the past. It makes us laugh sometimes, like Sonic Boom and Monster, where you got two songs with Backbone Slippage, or when this is a brand new song, and then now we know from the demos that it most certainly was not. It's Gene. It's all good. It's all music.
The thing that drives me nuts, though, is that on Sonic Boom and Monster, I mean, we have 167 Gene songs now where he's doing all these styles, he's doing all these different kinds of music. And on Sonic Boom and Monster, it's rewriting God of Thunder, rewriting Almost Human. And it's like Gene, and this is actually something I wanted to say to him when I was talking to him, but I didn't get a chance. I was like, Gene, let's have another World Without Heroes on a Kiss album. Let's have, you don't have, I wouldn't say it I wouldn't frame it like this to him, but I'm thinking you don't have to redo God of Thunder on every new Kiss album. We can have an Only You. We can have a We Are One. That's the kind of stuff that I feel is missing on these more recent Kiss records. Is they feel so trapped that they have to try to recreate Love Gun, they have to try to recreate Destroyer or Creatures. That let Gene be weird. Let Tommy do a ballad. Let Eric do a song. It's just, I wish they would reach into this Volt type stuff and realize we don't have to do a cookie cutter Kiss album like it's 1977. And if they do a final record, I really hope it's material that where there are no rules. Hell, let Tommy have the first track on the last Kiss album, just because he can. Just make it cool, make it different, make it unique. That's the one thing I do appreciate about The Elder is that they weren't cookie cutter with it. They were just being themselves on that one and letting whatever happen. And if they were going to do a final album, that's what I would hope they would do for that one too.
But now we know from some of the material in the vault that with The Elder, they certainly used a knife that they're a transplant surgeon, Mr. Ezrin. Here, I'm taking the middle section. And again, those would be great questions if you're getting to interview Bob Ezrin or Gene. Who decided to take that middle section from Sweet Temptation and add it on to Only You, or Am I Losing My Mind, and try and figure out the sequence that magic happened. And here's another thing. You're talking about a new Kiss album. I'm not. I would love when they do the Nashville vault to make sure that the Nashville Guitar Mafia, as I love to call Gene's backing band, Phil and the crew, to make sure they get a vault so that those boys can sit down and go through the vault and find the music that they like to use as inspiration to write all new material for Gene to sing. That I would actually find far more interesting and vibrant in terms of a current modern music. I said it on the podcast yesterday. Kind of like Johnny Cash, American music, American recordings, where the elder statesman is presented newer material to interpret. Well, use the guys who are in the Gene Simmons band, who are very talented musicians in their own right. They're younger guys than Gene. So inject some vibrancy into that. Have them write the music from Gene's riffs, and then take it to Gene, because Gene's a good lyricist. and work together. Have a Gene Simmons band album created out of the scraps of ideas that just permeate this vault. There's so much to work with, so many ideas that were never fully realized. You hear it on the songs that have scat vocals. Some are very short, have riff ideas that are very convoluted and a bit schizophrenic. They jump from part to part. I would love to see what they can do with that, so that the vault owners could say, "Oh yeah, that came from okay, I see what and then the people who weren't able to participate and be a vault owner get to experience music that is music from the vault."
Brand new.
So yeah, something like that has a connection with the vault, so they get a fly on the wall kind of experience.
I'd still like to have that record store day idea they had with what was it, Lita and Stanley the Parrot or whatever on a double-sided 45.
Yeah.
If I had one wish for something they could have added, it would have been something like that, a 45 and make the 45 two songs that aren't on the CDs. I thought that would be kind of a unique.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been a great bonus item to have in everyone's vault compartment, a repro 45 of that 10-inch acetate, or shrink it down to 7, whatever, because the Sanders one was, Sanders recording was 7-inch, I believe. That would have been real neat. Put that out for Record Store Day with an insert, where I got one right here. Like that. Is
yours signed?
This one isn't. I had a signed one that I gave that away. So, something like that would be an idea. Before we close, we got to wrap this one up.
And they could keep that going. I mean, they could keep that vault stuff going by releasing that or releasing things that are connected to the vault, but that whatever regular people can get a hold of versus the $2,000 vault,
Yeah, and even digital, maybe they've already released A Hand of Fate on SoundCloud, and most of Are You Ready has been, so permeated through the website that I don't think anyone actually wants to hear that song again at this point. Throw those up on iTunes, $1.99 each. Let people have at those, because they're already out. But then again, there's legal, there's licensing, there's all those things that as people who wish about things that we don't know about the business side don't consider. So there's always something, and we just don't know what is. But those are some ideas. My last question for you was: you took your dad with you. How did he enjoy the vault experience? Was it a conversation piece or what?
Well, basically, if it hadn't been for him, I probably would have not discovered Kiss. So I figured I owed this to him. And there really wouldn't. I couldn't think of anyone else I would take to such an event like this. If I was going to a regular Kiss show, it would have been a different story because he's been to those. But I took pictures of my dad and Gene, and it was just kind of surreal to look at these pictures later. There's my dad and Gene Simmons, and they're about the same height. They're the same height. So just two people from two separate places who came together for that moment. As far as my life's concerned, I wouldn't have had it any other way. And him and Gene actually had a conversation after I left. I wheeled my vault out, and I turn around, and they're still in there together talking. And Gene's eating his macaroni salad, and I think he said something to my dad like, do you know how long mayonnaise can sit out before it goes bad? And my dad's like, I don't know, like an hour? So that was the conversation I heard as I popped my head back in there. And of course, at that point, Keith is getting ready for the next people to go in. And so, it's an experience. And if you have the money and you can do it, it's something that you won't regret, because it's something that you'll always remember, and you have this huge memento that you'll be pleased to have to lug around for the rest of your life. And that's one more thing I will say. Gene makes each one of these things so specific and so unique to each person. And I feel like that not only is a way to make it unique to you, but also a way to say, it'll be hard to sell this on eBay later on because your name's on it. It'll attach it more to each individual person, so they won't feel maybe as entitled to throw it up on eBay or try to sell it, because it has your name and you you have the experience attached to it. So he probably has that in mind too.
I hope so. Well, there we are. And, 3 weeks after I did my vault, Nigel has participated in the fourth vault experience, because obviously there were 2 in Detroit. So thank you very much for taking your time to, nice to get together just to have a chat as well, because, it's been a while since we saw each other in San Francisco. But that's really nice to see that the vault continues to evolve. And for everyone who comes after, I'll catch up with some of those folk down the road so that we can share their experiences with everyone else as well. But for now, from Nigel and myself, thank you for joining us on the KissFAQ podcast, and we shall see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.